It's time to experience the O on the Original Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Mark Maradei.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei. I have my co-host with me today. Some of you love listening to this woman talk when she's on the show. This is, I think, your third time appearing on the show, but my lovely wife, Terri Maradei, is joining me today as my special co-host. How are you doing today, Mrs. Maradei?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You guys, it's my fantasy draft day, and I'm sporting my Pittsburgh Steelers t-shirt. As you all know, across the country, across the world, anybody who listens to us, I am a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But look at what she's got on. Lord only knows what happened. Somewhere along the line, I feel like I'm back in 1976, Steelers versus Cowboys. And y'all know how that ended up, right? 6 trophies in that showcase in Pittsburgh. And how many you got in that showcase? Never mind. We won't even go down that road. But this is going to be a pretty fun episode. I really want to thank everybody who was willing to send me in questions. We got some pretty cool questions. A lot of it dealing with what's going on in college football right now with the NIL, with the realignment. Great questions. I got some questions about obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers because I've got a lot of friends that are Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And I've got, some questions about fantasy football coming up. And Mrs. Maradei, are you ready to get going? Because I am.
I'm ready. I got all the questions ready to go.
All right, let's do this then.
All right. Number 1 from Robert Y. from Liberty University. How do you feel the Liberty Flames will look going into 2021 after last year's successes?
The Liberty Flames are going to be spectacular. I think they actually won their opener on Saturday, September 4th. I think they won it in grandiose fashion. They've returned 20 starters this year. Those starters include their quarterback, Malik Willis, who is a dynamic, and I mean dynamic quarterback. I mean, he is really, really good. He had great numbers running the ball, great numbers passing the ball. Some might say he's Lamar Jackson-esque, which would be a great thing from that perspective. But he's got a JUCO transfer who came in, a kid by the name of Stetson Moore, about 6'4.5", 260-pound tight end, catches the ball well, really good outlet for him. He's got some good slot and wide receivers to go to. So they're going to have a pretty dynamic offense, and including along with those skill guys, he returns his entire offensive line. And anybody who's a football fan that is questioning how valuable the offensive line is, let me just tell you, returning an entire offensive line is crucial. Those guys already have chemistry. They probably worked out together the last 3 or 4 years, knowing fully well that they were going to have 2 years together. And obviously their defense is fast and aggressive. Now, the one drawback from their 10-1 season last year is the fact that their schedule has increased a little bit. They've got Syracuse on the schedule. They've got UAB. They play Ole Miss. And then they go on the road to, I believe, Louisiana and Army, which, it will be much of a challenge. Now, Louisiana lost their opener, but they were still a ranked team, and I don't expect them to stay down for long. So I look for Liberty to have another 9-10 win season and find themselves in the thick of things heading into bowl season.
Great. Ryan from Block in the Back podcast wants to know, who are your dark horse number 1 fantasy scoring players at each position in 2021?
Hey, big shout out to Ryan for sending me a question. And that's an awesome question if you ask me. Like I said, I have my fantasy draft. In fact, Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei is sponsoring this fantasy league. We have it this evening. Wanted to wait till the cutdowns happen, but as I peruse through all the different numbers and the up and comers and whose offenses have changed over the course of the last year or two because of quarterback changes, because of players leaving, players retiring, players changing teams that that they were on, that kind of stuff. I started out with this. I like this guy, and I have him targeted as one of my 3 quarterbacks to actually go after. My quarterback guy that I'm looking at is Kyler Murray from Arizona. I like the fact that he's got a nice solid base there with the running game. This is his 3rd year in a system with his coach that is also a very creative coach. And he kind of bounced from leaving where he was at what was at Texas Tech, went somewhere else, and then actually ended up with the Arizona Cardinals. But Cliff Kingsbury is a really good head coach, and I think Kyler Murray will be the surprise top dog in quarterbacks this year. At the running back spot, it's against my better judgment to ever say this, and you can actually ask my wife this, but I really like Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's a hell of a running back. I liked him when he played for Georgia. I thought he was a great running back. This is his 3rd year with the Cleveland Browns. And man, I hope my Steeler friends just don't bail on me because I'm picking a Cleveland Brown running back to be a surprise guy. But it's not going to be Najee Harris because I just don't see that offensive line for Pittsburgh being the difference maker. But we're going to talk about that down the road in this podcast. But I like Nick Chubb. And then I like Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is on a Los Angeles Chargers team. I can't believe I got that right because I always say the San Diego Chargers still because I grew up knowing them as the San Diego Chargers. But Austin Eckler is the running back on a Los Angeles Chargers team with a really stud quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think he's a fantastic talent, and he will help by getting that ball out. He's got a solid receiving core, and they've got a really good looking offensive line there, and they will be even better coached, even though they were well coached last year. I think they will be dynamic there in San Diego. So I think Austin Eckler is my other running back. In terms of wide receivers, I'm going to go A.J. Brown with Tennessee. Getting Julio Jones over from Atlanta, that's going to make a difference to a certain degree. I don't know if Julio will have the numbers he used to have in Atlanta. It's going to change. I'm not big on Ryan Tannehill, but I know with Derrick Henry carrying the load at running back, who I think is an outstanding guy. Did you guys know that Derrick Henry is the only guy in the history of football to rush for 2,000 yards as a high school player, as a college player, and as a professional player? So that's one hell of a feat, to be quite honest with you. So my hat goes off to Derrick Henry, and he's durable. Okay, watch him get hurt now that I said that. But I really do like A.J. Brown. And my other kind of dark horse guy, with the return of Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper on this team and Zeke Elliott at the running back spot, which I do think they're a solid team, to be quite honest with you. They have to stay healthy and grow. But I like CeeDee Lamb as a guy who's actually going to put some numbers up. Okay. He's a guy I think is going to have a nice year this year for them. I remember watching him a couple times last year. He's a big guy. He creates space and he can run through guys as a receiver. And I think that's some really good qualities for him to have. And again, he needs Dak to be on the field in order to be able to do those things. And by the way, CeeDee Lamb is on the screen of my wife's phone since she's a big Dallas Cowboy fan now. And finally, at tight end, and I am hoping I'm answering all the positions you want me to answer, Ryan, but at tight end, I like Darren Waller from the Raiders. I think Darren Waller is going to take it up a whole nother notch, even though he's one of the top rated tight ends going into the season. But I think with Josh Jacobs carrying the load at running back and them, they really, nobody has stepped up in their passing game to be the go-to guy. Maybe Henry Ruggs does it this year. I don't know. But, I like Darren Waller as the top rated tight end that's sleeping out there for him. So there you go. There's my guys.
All right. I think all your listeners would want to know that I get to pick whatever team I want, and they would support that. Just because I'm married to a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, I don't root against the Steelers.
No, you don't. And I don't root against the Cowboys.
But I can have my own team. I'm from New York, so you're just lucky I don't root for the Giants.
Or the Bills. or the Jets.
Bills.
You should root for the Jets.
See?
I'd love that.
I got all this cowboy gear now. I'm not switching teams now. Suzanne and Jeff High from Middletown, Maryland. Do you think the NFL should expand the 53-man roster due to the additional regular season games?
I love that question. I think I should be in the NFL front offices just because here's the way I'm going to answer this. They are making more money because they have expanded to another game, right? They're making extra money. So that money needs to go back to the players as much as it needs to go in the owners' pockets. I think the roster should increase by 5 guys. I think it should go from 53 to 58. And I think it should increase in a practice roster too. I think it should jump up to 15 guys. So 10 extra players, in my opinion, should be on those rosters. Now, that being said, the money, like I said, is a factor. Injury is a huge factor. You know what? One of the things that I really hate personally is I hate when a team plays on Sunday and then they turn around and have to play a Thursday night game. Now, I was never a professional football player, obviously, but you know, I've been a student of the game for years. And if you go and look at numbers, if you go and look at injuries, guys often get hurt because of that quick turnaround. You know, their body needs time to recover. I can remember guys reading like about Ronnie Lott would say that after he would get, you know, play a Sunday game where he ran and tackled guys all day. And Ronnie Lott was a complete striker for the San Francisco 49ers at safety. I can remember him saying that it felt like he ran into a brick wall, a brick garage 40 times when he would get out of bed on Monday. I can remember a guy by the name of Jim Otto. He was a center for the Oakland Raiders back in the day. He couldn't get out of bed till Tuesday after playing a Sunday game. His knees were so bad. You know, he's down in the trenches banging away. But yet these owners in the league think it's okay for guys to play on Sunday and turn around and play on Thursday. Okay, so they get a nice long break usually after that. They might not play till the following Sunday or the following Monday if they're lucky. But I still don't think it's fair. You know, the money part of it for them is more, it's a business today, and it's more important than the guys' lives, you know. But the guys know what they sign up for. To be honest with you, when you play professional sports, and these guys will tell you this, we try to milk every dollar possible because we know what we sign up for. And in the end, I mean, you know, their lifespan actually it's shorter. It's there's no question about it for a great deal of them. But I would say one final thing in regards to that. I think it would be an act of good faith by the owners and the NFLPA to approve that. To approve expanding those rosters. Maybe you cut down on the salary that you're giving the practice squad because those guys aren't taking quite as much of a beating as your regular season guys. But I think those rosters need to expand. I wholeheartedly think that would be the right thing to do.
All right. Our next question is from Steve from Florida. Do you think the Dolphins are really satisfied with Tua, or will they bring in a veteran during the season?
Are you satisfied with Tua, Steve? Are you a Dolphins fan, or are you satisfied with him? I know quite a few Dolphins fans. Nikki Stewart, who has done some artwork for me, fantastic artwork. He's a great guy. I don't know if he's satisfied as a lifelong Dolphins fan with Tua. I think he's got a lot to prove. Brian Flores has done a fantastic job with that team. That team almost got into the playoffs last year after trading away how many guys for draft picks, and really, you know, they used them wisely. I think I'm going to mention this guy's name now, and then I'm going to mention him a little bit later. Okay. I think Cam Newton is a guy who should be on the radar for a team like the Dolphins. Maybe Fitzpatrick's not, because he wasn't the same type of quarterback as Tagovailoa. Okay. Tua is a certain style. And I think Cam Newton is more of a guy like Tagovailoa. I think Cam Newton would take Tua under his wing and show him some of the things he needs to do from a leadership standpoint. Now, on the other side of the coin, I also think Cam has some maturity issues. And that might be part of the reason that Coach Belichick was more willing to go with cutting him loose and playing a rookie in Mac Jones. So, I think the Dolphins need to keep an eye to to the waiver wire and somebody that fits their system and somebody that would be productive for them going forward.
All right, you can continue to talk about Cam Newton now. Teresa from Monrovia, Maryland wants to know if you think Cam Newton is a second string quarterback, or do you think he has the ability still to be a starter?
Teresa, great question. And Terry's right. I am going to continue to talk about him. I always like Cam Newton. He's a big dude. He's like 6'6", 240, 50, 260 pounds. Imagine that coming at you as a quarterback. But he also gets nicked up a lot. He's had a lot of ankle issues, things of that nature. I remember when they went to the Super Bowl and lost, his level of maturity back then. And I think he's got some he's got some things over his head that people don't necessarily like. But in the right system, he could be the guy who could be a starter. Right now, I don't see a job for him in the NFL as a starter, to be honest with you. The teams with question marks, like a New Orleans type of team who's going to probably go with Jameis Winston. They say they are right now. I don't know if he's a guy that would fit what they want to do there. Another place I could see Cam landing, just because of uncertainty with Dak. And I know my Dallas fans out there will say Dak's fine, he's going to be okay, but you don't really hear a lot of that coming out of Cowboys camp. You hear mixed reviews when you hear things, but I could see him landing in Dallas as an insurance policy. Dallas is a team that they can't afford to throw away another season. They have not been playing great football the last handful of years, and they could use a guy with his skill set and his experience to help. If Dak can't go and you lean on a guy like Cam, he can continue to keep the bus moving forward and chalk up some victories for you, so you don't have to go backward and grab some of those guys who really don't have the experience and really aren't going to get it done for you. So I could see Cam being a starter only if somebody loses a one. Otherwise, he's going to have to be a number two that helps somebody with his fingers crossed.
Good. Shawn from Pittsburgh wants to know what your thoughts are on the NIL in the college sports.
The NIL, name, image, and likeness. I need to get money somewhere from the NIL. Can we figure out how I can make some money from the NIL? The NIL is a great thing for college players. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's a great thing. They should get something for their name, image, and likeness. But I also think it should be capped. The kid down in Alabama, Bryce Young, is that their new quarterback? I'm pretty sure that's the kid's name. He had a fantastic opening game. Alabama's game, did very well. Had a better opening game than Mac Jones. And Alabama's last four quarterbacks, I believe, are in the NFL. So this kid's on the right path. He's making over $1 million already with the NIL. Okay. The kid who came out of, I think it's the Dallas area, or maybe it's the Austin area in Texas. He was a quarterback, went to OSU, young kid, freshman. He left high school early, although he graduated. He left high school early to go to Ohio State because he knows that, he can make money off the NIL while he's playing at Ohio State. And there's no guarantee for these kids that they're going to go on and play at the next level and have success and cash in like they think they could, or like they potentially want to. Okay. There's no guarantee. So they should make something playing in college. On the other side of the coin of that, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, these guys are given a full scholarship that's worth $120,000 at many of these pristine universities, and that is their pay. That's their money. That's always been where it is. But, if you have a university who's making a lot of money off of you, you should get a percentage of that. And I'm not torn on it. I do think the players should get money. They shouldn't have to do work study or whatever in the heck they do and watch grass grow and get a paycheck. And they shouldn't have boosters setting them up on the side so that long-term the school gets caught and they get in trouble for it. So yes, I do think the NIL is an important thing, and I'm glad it has gone forward. I think it'll need some tweaks. That's all.
Yep. Get some caps on that because it's going to go crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Next question. Alex from Frederick, Maryland wants to know about in college football games, why does the clock get stopped to move the change after a first down?
Alex, hut. That's my guy. Alex, the reason they stop the clock in a college game is so that the chain crew can go and set up and get things rolling at the first down, where the first down is marked. That's the only reason. Then that clock gets restarted. At the high school level, they move those chains. They start the 40-second clock, but they don't start the actual game clock until the snap of the ball. And at the NFL level, that chain gang is paid good money to move the chains, so they don't stop ever. Things just keep rolling. Makes you wonder why an NFL game is 3 hours. But no, that's the reason why. They get it, they stop it, they move those chains at the high school level, and it doesn't start again until the snap of the ball. And at the college level, once again, they get it, they move it, and they start that 40-second clock and the game clock for them. So there you go. That's why. Get those chains moving.
Wow. Got a Steeler question for you from Dave. He lives in East Vandergrift, Pennsylvania.
How about that?
Why do the Steeler fans think they will be any good this year? They don't have an offensive line.
Because they're delusional. I'm a realist. I get it. You know, I don't know. If you watch the Clemson-Georgia game, the opener on Saturday, September 4th, Clemson did not look like Clemson, to be quite honest with you. And a big part of that is their offensive line was being eaten alive by a very good defensive line from Georgia. But still, nonetheless, they weren't solid. We talked about offensive line a little bit ago and how important it is for them to gel. Think about what I said about Liberty, bringing back all 5 guys that play for them, and they know each other. They have little probably secrets on that offensive line where they do just certain things. They know how a guy reacts to it. They know how they're going to respond to it. So that's really important. I think the Steelers are delusional. I am not sold on Zach Banner. I think he's probably one of the most overrated guys on the Steelers offensive line. I wish him no harm. He blew his knee out, though. First game of the year last year. They had him penciled in, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, all these people think this guy's great, and he hasn't done a thing. He's a big social media guy. He likes to put himself out there on social media. Yeah, that doesn't work for me. Your actions speak on the field for me as a professional athlete. Then they've got 2 rookies starting. One of them, by the name of Dan Moore Jr., is going to be starting at that left tackle. They never expected that when they drafted him. I believe he was a 5th-round pick. But he's gritty, he's nasty, and that's what they're looking for. And the same with Kendrick Green, their new center, who looks a lot like Pouncey in stature and nastiness and everything up front. But I'm not sure he is as savvy and ready to go as Pouncey was. We'll find out real quick with them. They also made some other changes. They took Chooks and moved him back to his right tackle, which he did a decent job there last year. And that's taking into consideration that David DeCastro was a shell of himself, in my opinion, the last 2 years. And that really hurt. And I was okay when they cut him loose. I really was. And I really liked David DeCastro, but injuries crept up on him. I'm not sure what else he had going on. But when they had that offensive line with him, Villanueva, Ramon Foster, that was a hell of a group. But Chooks may benefit from having Trey Turner there. Trey Turner, who was a free agent, was a Pro Bowl player. We'll see if this team can mesh together. They've got themselves a running back behind that line now, and all they need to do is make a crack for Najee Harris. They better protect Ben, though, because Ben's 39 years old. Last time I checked, a 39-year-old guy with an offensive line like this doesn't usually make it through the season. So, David, my only thing to you is give them a little time. Let's see what they do. Let's see if they make any moves. Who knows? By the time this is released on September 9th, they may have picked up another offensive lineman because they have money out there. But I'm sure this is not the last time we'll hear about that offensive line, and they'll get it right eventually. I think, to be quite honest with you, all eyes are going to be on Adrian Clem, the offensive line coach. He's a rookie offensive line coach who was an assistant offensive line coach. And apparently he does well with the younger players. So we'll see how he does. I know he did well with Kevin Dotson starting left guard. So we'll see. We'll see, David. They got to quit being delusional. Get ready, Pittsburgh.
Nice. Rodney from Reisterstown, Maryland wants to know your thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger tutoring Dwayne Haskins.
I don't know, Rod. I don't know if he's actually tutoring him, because I can't see Ben going over to Haskins and putting his arm around him and saying, we do it this way. But I could see him setting things straight in the quarterback room. I could see him pointing things out to the young guys. I don't think Ben wants the Steelers organization to fall flat on its face once he leaves. I know if you listen or read anything from Pittsburgh media, they love nothing more than to see controversy in Pittsburgh sports, whether it's the Pirates, the Penguins, the Steelers, the Panthers, Penn State. It doesn't matter. I sound like The Rock there. That's their bottom line up there in Pittsburgh. And it's sickening to me from that perspective. You got to throw a little love behind your hometown teams. Ben will do a good job of setting a good example for Haskins. But Haskins is going to have to get confident enough where he makes quicker reads, quicker decisions, and he stays within himself to follow the system. The Steelers are not going to redesign their offense for Dwayne Haskins. Okay. They're just not going to do it, but they're going to create an offense that will give illusions to teams so that they can become successful until that offensive line gels together and finds itself. I think Ben will do a nice job this year as long as he stays upright and healthy. But again, that all goes back to what I said previously about the offensive line. Dwayne Haskins has the tools. He was a number one pick. What was he, 15th overall a couple of years ago? Maybe under Tomlin, he does a better job. Maybe under Matt Canada in his dynamic system that he's trying to put in place. Maybe as Mike Sullivan is the quarterback's coach, it will help Dwayne Haskins. But ultimately, Ben has got to set a good example for him and take some of the responsibility. I'll tell you who's more important to Dwayne Haskins than Ben Roethlisberger. Believe it or not, Rod, it's going to be Josh Dobbs. Because Josh Dobbs has been around long enough in Pittsburgh that he knows what's going on with the offense. He's a very smart man. He's a rocket scientist. Okay, so he's a very smart man, and he should be able to explain some of the things to Haskins in terms that he will understand, because apparently Canada has not changed that much of this offense. He's just going to give it more flair, more motion, more offset, imbalanced lines, things like that. So I think they'll be okay, but I do not think, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think Haskins, I don't think Mason Rudolph, I don't think their future quarterback is on the roster.
All right. Brian Clint from Lake Linganore, Maryland wants to know which quarterback under the age of 25 do you think is going to have a monster season?
I'm going to give you the top 5 quarterbacks. Okay, the top 5 quarterbacks. Number 5, Joe Burrow. The only reason Joe Burrow may not be higher is because he blew out his knee last year. I like Joe Burrow. I liked him coming out of LSU. He made a great move leaving Ohio State, going to LSU, leading them to a national championship. He has all the moxie and all the leadership skills that you want in a quarterback. And he's with an organization that has a very young core. They better get him an offensive line, though, in Cincinnati. Otherwise, he's going to get killed. He'll have another ACL if they don't get him an offensive line. Number 4, I have Josh Allen, surprisingly. I have Josh Allen from the Bills, and I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a guy that I actually would have loved to have seen the Steelers take. Okay, I thought he would. He reminded me of Ben coming out of college, and I thought he would be a fantastic fit there. Obviously, the Steelers didn't think that, but he's doing a great job with the Bills. He took them to the AFC Championship last year before they got schooled by Kansas City. But I think Josh Allen is number 4. Number 3 may cause some people to be frustrated and angry with me, but I think Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, I think is number 3. Not because I don't like Lamar Jackson. I'll tell you what, that kid has so much character. I just love the things he does. When he was out over the summer playing football on the basketball courts with kids that he helps out with money and sporting equipment and all that stuff. I love that about him. I think there's nothing greater than somebody who has a place in his life for younger kids when they become grown up and they are making money. I think it's a great thing to give back, and that is hands-on. Don't just put your name on it. Lamar Jackson football camp. Get your butt there and be an active part of that, okay? But I also am concerned about Lamar because he runs the ball a lot. Probably 3 years ago, I listened to Coach Harbaugh talking on I guess it must have been ESPN. I was listening to a preseason show, and Coach Harbaugh said that they had prescribed 250, 260 run plays for him. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this kid's going to get killed. And right now he's not. He's so dynamic with the football in his hand, but he doesn't have any receivers. His top 2 receivers this year are already hurt on short-term IR. Okay. Bring in Sammy Watkins. It's Sammy Watkins. He was a name in Buffalo, but he didn't really do much anywhere else he went. Okay. Is it Sammy Watkins that was in Buffalo, or is he in Kansas City? Whatever. Nevertheless, Sammy Watkins is not going to be the guy that they want him to be. Lamar goes, he checks down to his tight end. That's his guy, Mark Andrews. Okay. Not a bad thing. Okay. But you've got to be able to get the ball downfield. Hollywood Brown, AB's cousin, needs to take his game to a whole nother level and stay healthy this year and make Lamar shine a little bit more from a passing standpoint, because receivers make quarterbacks oftentimes too, as well as quarterbacks making receivers. And the other thing that worries me about Lamar is the fact that he lost Dobbins already. J.K. Dobbins going out. That's going to hurt. I think they'll get a running back in there. I think Gus Edwards will do a nice job, but it almost means that Lamar is going to have to run the ball a little bit more until they find their groove with a second running back. So Lamar's number 3. Kyler Murray, who I talked about earlier when we were talking about sneaky surprise guys. I love Kyler Murray. I actually, believe this or not, you guys, I didn't like him coming out of college. I didn't like him coming out of Oklahoma. He did not impress me. But what I've seen him do the last 2 years has really opened my eyes. Again, I have him circled as one of my 3 quarterbacks going into my fantasy draft that I'm hoping to pick up. But I like Kyler Murray as number 2. And then to the error of many, I have Justin Herbert is the guy. He's my number 1 guy under 25. I just think he commands the field well. He has a certain presence about him. From the time he stepped on that field last year, he had that certain something, that certain je ne sais quoi, as you would, of a quarterback. And I can see Justin Herbert really doing things with the Chargers that Phillip Rivers was not able to accomplish. So my number 1 guy under the age of 25 that will have a monster season as long as his receivers stay healthy and Eckler picks up his slack as a running back is Justin Herbert.
Good. Joanne from Montgomery County, Maryland, is a hardcore Ohio State Buckeye fan. She wants to know your thoughts on all the conference realigning and expanding.
Joanne, it's all about money. The bottom line is money. Money. Turn on some Pink Floyd, put on that Money song from Dark Side of the Moon. That's all it is. I mean, look, we just had Oklahoma and Texas commit to leaving and going to the SEC from the Big 12 in 2026. I believe that's when it's supposed to start. But I look for them to buy it out and start there even sooner. Now we're going from 5 Power 5 conferences down to what's going to be 4.5, because the Big 12 is not going to be able to compete, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think it's fair. I think the NCAA is Weasley. I don't think they have the gumption to step in and say, no, you're not making that jump. I know it's about the governing bodies at these schools to make those decisions and what's going to be best for the school, but it's what's going to be best from the school from a financial standpoint. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to let some schools into the Power Fives, like your Cincinnati's, maybe your Liberties, maybe your Coastal Carolinas. You're going to have to let some of them in. And the other piece of it is, I think the realignment needs to be done regionally. I don't see how in the world a team like West Virginia should be able to go out and play and get a fan base to go with them to Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas. Yeah, that's insane to me. Like, that is unbelievable to me. They're not going to fill planes full of people to go there and support them. If you got West Virginia playing in the ACC, that changes the ball game. Their fans can travel to ACC schools. If they're playing in the Big Ten, people in West Virginia will drive up to the Big House. They'll drive over to the horse. They'll drive to these places, but they're not going to drive out west as far as they have to go to attend these games, unless you're a big time booster that has the cash to do it. So, I'm not in favor of all this moving and grooving. But again, I'm not the guy who calls the shots, and I'm definitely not sitting on the boosters or the board of trustees of any of these schools. Hey, let's take a look at a team like Notre Dame. They don't even have a conference that they're in football because they produce so much money. Notre Dame plays on NBC every Saturday because people want to watch them. They either love Notre Dame or they hate Notre Dame. I, for one, am a Notre Dame fan. My father raised me that way. My brother-in-law is a Notre Dame alum. We're going to go see Notre Dame play again this year. I love that team. That's a great team. They may not win it all, but Notre Dame, they beat to their own drum. They do not have to be forced into aligning with anybody. If they did, they would be in the ACC because that's where they play basketball at. So I hope I answered your question.
Doug from Scottsdale, Pennsylvania. He wants to know what will have the biggest long-term impact on college football NIL, conference realignment, or the transfer rule?
Get in the KE position for this one, Doug. We've already talked about the NIL. We've just talked about the conference realignment. I think all three of these things are going to be impactful. I personally hate the transfer rule. I hate the portal. I do. I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. I remember last year, as a Pitt basketball fan, they had guys entering the transfer portal at the University of Pittsburgh before their season even ended. That's insane to me, to be quite honest with you. You should have to end your season. There should be a process you should have to go through in order to leave that school. It should be signed off on by the coach, and there should be reasoning behind you actually jumping ship. And they also should not have the free willy-nilly to jump right in and start playing where they're going. And I know that's the direction it is, but I don't think that's right. It's impactful. They're loading up some of these teams. It's becoming that. Let's think about this. It's becoming that like the NBA, where you got those power teams. And I don't like it. I don't know how much it's going to impact the finances of the teams, because when you go to a college football game, when you go to a college basketball game, if your program is already established, adding that extra player gives you more of a chance to win, but it's not going to impact the money part of it, because you're already pulling in a larger amount of it. I think out of all three of those, the thing that is going to have the most long-term impact is going to be the NIL. I have no doubt about it. Those guys are going to go, those young kids coming out of high school are going to go to those schools where somebody's in their ear while they're still in high school saying, we're going to hook you up with some good cash with the NIL rule. Yeah, we want you to come here, and we want you to play for our team. And in the long run, we have something waiting for you. If you don't make the league, we'll have something else waiting for you if you're that guy who can do it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think the NIL will definitely have the largest impact.
Great. That's all the questions we had. We had more we had to cut it down to, but
yeah, that was great.
Overall, that's it.
So I thought that was fantastic. Fantastic questioning. I appreciate you co-hosting with me today, Terry. It was wonderful. Hey, check out our websites, our apps, and much more. Our website, OriginalSportsPodcast.com. Like our Facebook page, join our conversation on Twitter. Reach out to us on Snapchat at OSP with M&M. Follow us on Instagram. Watch our TikToks, which I've been hyping up my game a little bit more at Original Sports Podcast, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Original Sports Podcast. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions, comments, concerns. If you're looking for a t-shirt, a sticker from us, hey, hit me up with an email. We'll get you something in the mail. OriginalSportsPodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank our audio engineer, Shawn Antkowiak, our video engineer, Angela Antkowiak, our voice intro, which is done by the University of Maryland voice, Matt Noble. Our intro and outro music provided by my good friend, Ryan Benton and young Preston Harper. Our social media manager, who's done an outstanding job, William Franciscus. The lovely Terri Maradei, who takes care of being my webmaster. Join us each week to experience the O on the Original Sports Podcast.
The originals. So sit right back. We're going to tell you a story of heroes and warriors who played for the glory. You're about to see it in your stadium chair. We know all your teams and we can go on for days. It's game time from the original. Highlights and playoffs and very special guests. It's game time on the original Sportscast show by the best.